Hey everybody, Mr. Kevin here. I get to sit down and enjoy myself now. All right, so you can see this pile of wood I have to sand. Ugh. Sanding is the worst, absolute worst. Teaching somebody how to sand the right way takes longer than just doing it yourself. You can really mess up a piece of wood by sanding it the wrong way. Over rounding the edges, flattening sharp corners out that you want. Not sharp, but just you know, just a little eased. And training people on how to sand is kind of a pain in the butt. I'm going to be doing this, and this is part of woodworking. It's the most boring thing ever, but it's also the most important. So you gotta learn how to sand. I have all my essentials ready to go. I have my kombucha, not a sponsor. I've got a whole pile of 150 sandpaper. My old Bosch sander hooked up to the dust collector, gizmo. I have a couple of little tiny implements. This is a spindle sander part that I use to sand these little skinny pieces here with some 150 wrapped around it. Cut up a bunch of 150. I always cut them into quarter sheets because it's just easier to handle that way. I also have this round piece of rubber thing for doing the shoulders and stuff like that. Like up on here. And I have a pile of everything. Doors, parts, and drawer front parts, and raised panels. Yeah, the whole 9 yards. So I'm gonna be here for quite a while. Probably today. I might be done today, and then my hands won't work tomorrow, but yeah. And everybody asks me, why don't you hire somebody to sand? Because the way I like everything sanded, it's hard to teach people that. Teaching them to sand the right way, not over sand things, not under sand things. Believe it or not, it's kind of an art. It sounds stupid, you just sand a piece of wood. But when you have little pieces that you want sharp and you want them to remain sharp, not be rounded over, it's important. You use little implements like this and sand. Little rubber things. I'm going to sand the top of this. And it doesn't take much because, you know, unless it's got a lot of chatter on it. And these are pretty good. But training somebody to sand the way you want it to be sanded actually takes time. And right now in California, you know, we're under a lockdown, so I can't train anybody. I tried teaching Baxter the other day, and he just took the stick in his mouth and ran off with it. So he's not a sander. Anybody want to help me sand? Come on over. Yeah, $4 an hour. No, just kidding. Anyway, so I got a lot of sanding to do in the next 6 or 8 hours. I'm going to be doing this, and this is part of woodworking. It's the most boring thing ever, but it's also the most important. So you gotta learn how to sand. And it sounds like sanding's easy, but when you sand something like this, you want to make sure that everything stays pretty decent. You don't want to round it over on one side, you know, or make a flat spot on there. So it's kind of important that you get it right. And yeah, I'm just going to do it myself because that's the way it goes. All right, well, wish me luck. I wish you luck. I hope everyone's safe out there. You take care of yourselves out there. It's a crazy world. Stay 6 feet away from everybody and bring toilet paper, because I guess that's a thing. Hey everybody, Mr. Kevin here, and welcome to another episode of Curved Cabinets of Bembo. This is the fitting of the doors and drawers. In the last couple of days, I've just been sanding and sanding and sanding 22 doors and drawer fronts that are all different sizes, from little ones to big ones to medium size. Yeah, sanding, boring. Blech. So in today's video, we're going to go over a couple little sanding tips and tricks for door assembly and make your life much easier. We're going to go over that. I'm going to go over how to fit the drawers and door fronts in the face frames, hence the name, you know, fitting of the doors and drawer fronts. Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to show you today is, that's kind of a three-part thing, what to do if you don't have an edge sander. What? If you don't have one at home, I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can basically do an inset project without an edge sander. An edge sander is kind of important for a cabinet maker. But if you don't have one, I'm going to show you how to use your joiner. Okay. If you have a joiner. If you don't have a joiner and you just have a belt sander, I'll show you how you can go about belt sanding them. You mark them and you belt sand them to fit. Ooh. And the last thing, if you don't have any of those, you must have a table saw because you milled all this stuff. And we're going to go over how you do it on a table saw. Aww. Table saw is a little bit more difficult because you have a little bit more sanding to do. But we're going to go over all those tricks and tips and whatever else I can think of coming up next. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I hope you're safe out there. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. So let's say you've milled all your parts, right? And you have everything to width and long lengths. And you've just planed everything to, let's say, 3/4 of an inch, because that's what this is. Before you do anything else to it, sand the front and the back. And the reason is sometimes if you have raised panels like this panel will be sticking up, right? And sanding the whole thing when it's in there, the raised panel sticking up, sometimes you'll hit the corner of it. Sometimes you'll, when you're sanding, you see how that is right there, you'll hit the panel. Ding! And especially on the corners, you have the corner right there. If it's sticking up that way and you hit it, you're gonna put a little happy face in it with this edge, and that ain't no good. So you gotta be very careful. It's already hard enough to sand something this small when you have to just sand just the seam. But when you have to sand the whole damn thing all the way around, it's hard to pay attention and not hit that little edge because you only have, you know, that far over to go, and then any farther over, dink, and you've hit the round part. Sand your stiles and rails before you cross-cut them and machine them. Whether it's this big or this small, it's much easier to do ahead of time. And there you go, that's it. Oh gosh. So the next thing we're gonna go over is how I go about fitting these drawer fronts into this face frame. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Thanks for watching. The first thing I do, I have a bunch of these shims, is I take some of these and I stick them actually underneath the face frame, all over the place. I don't stick them so far in that they're underneath the drawers or the doors or anything, just in the corners and stuff like that. So the face frame actually comes up to be a little bit higher than the drawers of the doors themselves. See how they all sit in there like that? There's a little lip. And that's a good thing. I should edge sand these first. All right, hold it right here. Hold it right there. So I'm gonna go edge sand these and I'll turn you back on in a minute. Okay, bye. Okay, ready? Here we go. I edge sanded all the parts. Okay. It's sanded on both sides, so it's at least sort of flat. Let's stick that one in there. I put a label on each one with the arrow going up. All right, so this is the top. Oh, there goes squeakers. Now you know why I call her squeakers. So we got an arrow going up to the top, right? So make sure everything's going the right direction, because you wouldn't want to put it in like upside down and then go oops and have it not fit right. All right, so we got our little, put all those Johnsons in here. We've put our little paper shims in the corners. So now everything's got a little lip on it, right? That's the cool part. And take a few more of these guys. So what I do now is I'll just pick, we're just gonna pick the bottom. Let's do the bottoms on all of them. And I'm gonna stick these little guys in here. When you use a shim, make sure it's not all messed up like that one is. See, that's all, that's garbage. They're cheap, just throw them away. All right, nice and clean. And I usually stick them down where the stiles are right here. And we'll do all of the bottoms. There's another one. See, that happens, it gets all mangled. No. Yeah. Crap. Nope, it's too tight. So I'm actually gonna go edge sand this a little bit more on this side. So I'm gonna go edge sand this. What I do right here, I'm gonna take a pencil, big ass huge pencil right here, and I'm just gonna mark it right here. I'm just gonna put a pencil line because I have a little lip there, right? So this is about a 1/16 of an inch or so thick. That's why I use these thick ones. See that line right there? I'm gonna go sand from 0 to here to hero to there. All right, so there it is. The pencil mark's actually still there if you can see that. But for the most part, I took most of the pencil mark off. And now, there we go, there's one. A nice and sharp one. So we have all of these little tiny pieces down at the bottom, right? And they're all kind of, push everything down to the bottom like this. Right, shoved it all down, it's all down that way. Now we can, there goes squeakers, here squeaking. So what I like to do is, let's see, we'll come over here, push up against this little lip right here, called the face frame, butt it up in there, and then make a mark. All right, so we've marked the bottom, now we're gonna mark up here. All right, now we've marked all the corners. And I'll speed this up, I'm gonna do all of these here. And when we go to edge sand this, we're gonna go to the inside of the line and leave the line. So we're not gonna take the line off. We're just gonna leave the line there. And this, we're gonna go like this all the way across. That way we have a perfectly scribed line of the top, right? So this one is gonna be for the Beltsander. Okay, Beltsander. This one we'll do on the table saw. And this one we're just gonna edge sand. We'll see how long it takes me to do this. I shall return. It took me about 30 seconds. All right, so we're gonna set all these in here once again. And then what I do is I'm just gonna see if they fit and they're snug and that looks good, and I get them in there. Now see the center of this, how tight it is? That's the problem with edge sanders sometimes, is they, even with the flat platen on there and all that, it sometimes just makes things curved. Curved in the way you don't want them. So I'm actually gonna take this and I'm gonna draw on it like I did with this, and here in a second I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna mark on it. And the other thing we could do here, which I might just do, I have this line here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have this line, I'm actually gonna joint this off. So I'm gonna try to joint that off a little bit, and you have to be careful of the end grain, and I'll flip you over there in a minute and show you how all this works. That actually did pretty good on the first pass. Set these guys back in here a little bit, push it down to the bottom, put it over there. These little things are like feeler gauges, and you can go around and feel how tight it is and how tight it isn't. And yeah, that's pretty good. So that one's good enough. All right, so this one we're gonna do on the table saw. My problem is the camera's right on there. So yeah, so we'll do the Beltsander one first. All right, so if you don't have a joiner and you don't have a edge sander, the next best thing you do is you're gonna take this. I'm gonna actually chop this on the chop saw on the line. So I'm gonna, whatever the line is, I'm gonna angle it up and chop it on the chop saw first, and I'm gonna belt sand everything to fit. And the bottom line's good, so we're gonna do the top line, we're just gonna belt sand it. So I'm gonna set up over here on the chop saw. I gotta go around. I'll see you in a minute. So you can see I've chopped them down on the chop saw. That's in there good. So you don't want it flying out and hitting you in the groin. That would suck. And here we go. And if you're not used to sanding on the edge of something, you should practice. That's all it takes right there. All right, this one barely has anything, so it's gonna just take 2 seconds. Start it on. So you don't want to start it and then stick it on there. You want to start it on the material. There we go. I just want to check. See how that looks. Get a couple of these guys, stick them on this end here. And that end over there. Yeah, that's pretty good. That thing's had it. Those are kind of worn out too. All right, stuff it down the bottom. The whole thing basically has to go. So we're gonna do this line now with the Beltsander. All right, that's secure in there. That's pretty good. Flip this puppy over on its side. I'm gonna start it on the material itself. Start at the thickest spot, which is right here, and then work our way down. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna have a square. So I'm just gonna check and make sure I'm still square, at least on the ends. When you're sanding like this, it's hard to get, you kind of gotta practice at it. Making sure everything's square, so it's always good to practice before you just start attacking it with a Beltsander, because a Beltsander you can do a lot of damage. All right, here we go, a little bit more, and we'll be there. I'm just looking at the line, make sure this end's got a little bit more than the rest of it, and right there is a little hump. Okay, there we go. All right, see how that looks. All right, those fit in there. Pretty good, a little snug. Shot, get rid of that one too. Here. So these ones are a little loose on the side, but that's okay. It's a drawer. So this one was done with just a Beltsander. You can see how it goes. It takes a little bit of practicing to get used to a Beltsander. Sanding on a 3/4 inch edge, you know, it's easy to make it go one way or the other. All right, so there's how you do it with the belt sander. So this one right here, we're gonna do on the table saw. Hey everybody, I'm on the table saw, yay. So here's the drawer front that we're going to use just the table saw for, to square it up and put it in the face frame inset thingamajigger-bobber. So I drew the lines on there, you see that right there? On both sides. So I'm gonna cross cut them now. And the top has a little bit of a line right there. I don't know if you can see that either. A little pencil line, and I'm just gonna shave that slightly on the table saw, okay? A little preparation was this, you know, putting the backer on this thing so it doesn't blow out the end. Drawing the pencil lines on the end of this Johnson here, so I can line it up with the table saw blade right here. The table saw blade I put on my crosscut cabinet makers 60 tooth, so it's got a lot of teeth on there. The more teeth the better, so you have less sanding to do. So what I'm going to do here is I've got the pencil lines right on both sides, and I've got a little, took my square and I just marked it down there where the ends are, and I'm going to try to line it up right here. So I got two places to line it up. I already made the cut in this fence right here, so I can line the line up with the line. So I'm pushing that line to the outside so we have a little bit of sanding room, and here we go. Right, dust collector. A little bit safe, I guess. Ooh, that smells like cherry. Here we go. Turn it off with your leg, you know. All right, see that little bit of line there? So I'm gonna go check it over there real quick, because if I could take off a little bit more, I'm gonna do it. So, excuse me very much. All right, it's very, very tight. So, I'm going to take the side with the biggest pencil mark, which is this one right here, and I'm going to push the pencil mark just a little closer to the, oh, it's barely sticking out again. Here we go. All right, there we go. So now, I'm going to go check it again, but I think we got it that time. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's super smooth. That cut is super smooth with the 60 tooth blade on there, because there's lots of teeth. The more teeth, the better off you are. The combination blade would work okay, but you'll have to do more sanding. Yeah, this has got a little curve to it. So how's that? This side's pretty straight. And I'm going to show you. See, there we go right there. And it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So I'm going to start off with it, just see how it just barely rotates the blade. So it's barely touching it. That's how I'm going to start off. Oh man, excuse me. Turned it off with my knee. So if you're ever doing doors and drawer fronts, it's always better to start with the rails first and then do the stiles last, or the sides, because of just that little thing right there. You get a little bit of that blowout, and yeah, it's not good. But I'm gonna go fit it now. So we have just a little bit of that line left, and that's it. That's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm gonna try to, I'll wheel you around there just to show you. Well, yeah, let me see what happens. Well, there we go. So it's the middle one right here. And you can see it fits really well. Oh no! That one's shot. But all the parts and pieces fit in there. Everything slides around really good. And that was just done on a table saw. And you could do the same thing. So we did this one with the Beltsander. We did this one with the table saw. We did this one with the Edgesander. And the last thing I have to show you is how to use the joiner. Do I have any doors? So what I'll do is I'll take this one right here and I'll show you how to join the ends off. Yeah, because you have to back it up with a piece of wood on the stiles. So I'm going to flip you around over there on the joiner, and I'll show you how to do that safely. As long as you do the top, bottom, and rail first, joining it, and then you do the stiles last, or the sides, you can wipe away that blowout that you have from the end grain, which is up here with your second pass. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna flip you over and we'll go on the joiner. All right, see you in a minute. Hey everybody, and welcome to the joiner. What's the joiner's name? What? Somebody name the joiner. I always call him Jimmy. Jimmy the joiner. So if you don't have an edge sander, you don't have a belt sander, but you have a joiner and a table saw. I showed you the way to do it on the table saw. Now I'm going to show you the way you can also do it on your joiner. Set your joiner at a 32nd of an inch, or as shallow as you can get it. And you want to join one edge of this, and you want to make sure you have a very square piece. So I'm going to join this piece really fast. Sorry for the noise. I'm going to join this. Make it flat. Make sure you want to make it flat. Okay, then I'm going to take this and put the end down that you want to join flat. Push it in there. This is squared up. So this edge here is square, right? And this is joined flat. All you're going to do is you're going to push this through. And you can hear that. That's the end grain. Then you can either push it all the way through or not. You see the end there? It's all done. And it's jointed, and there's no blowout on the end. Okay. God, those things are blinding me. So using a backer board like this, that's jointed on one edge and square, is important, because as you're pushing it through, the end grain here gets backed up with this. And that'll keep you from blowing out everything. So you can see right here, it didn't blow out the end at all. Let's see, you see that? So the ends are good, both ends are good. And usually what happens is one end or the other will blow out. So you back it up with a hunk of wood like that, and you're good to go. Man, it's been a long day, I'm hungry. Yeah, so there you go. So we fit these drawers with the Edgesander, which took no time whatsoever, that's why I bought one. We've done them with the Tablesaw, we've done them with the Beltsander, and now we've done them with the joiner. So there you go, 4 different ways of fitting inset drawers into a face frame on an inset project. And there you go, the drawer fronts fit in the face frame, all nice and flush and everything. This one was done with the Edgesander, this one was done with the Tablesaw, and this one was done with the Beltsander. They're all fit in there, all the little pieces of paper in their place. That's how it's going to be until I actually go to and hang the drawers and all that stuff, and then I do the final sanding and rounding over of things and make sure everything fits nicely. I get them prepped just like this, ready to go, with a fat 1/16 of an inch gap all the way around, and it's all in there and just sitting there like it's magic. So if you have any questions, comment below and I'll get to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, fling flang the bang bang. Little one. Yeah, there we go. Got to save on toilet paper. So you have an awesome day. Go outside and play. Hug somebody you love. Be safe out there, and I'll see you next time right here on the YouTubes on Woodworking with Mr. Kevin on the curved cabinets of Bembo. Even though they're not curved, it's still pretty cool. All right, people. We'll see you next time. Have an awesome day. I got to throw something at you now. Oh, we're going to do the tape trick. All right, here we go. I'm going to try to nail you with the tape. The button's way over there, and I'm going to try to get it. Just hold on a second. I'm going to get it. Not very well prepared. Fight me. Come on, you big dummy. There you go. Sometimes, okay, did we get it all? Let's see. All right, so the next thing we're going to go over next is the next thing. So the next thing we're going to go over is how I go about fitting these drawer fronts into this face frame. Oh, look, you can see the light. Oh, I think somebody's in there watching me. Everybody see that? You see that? Oh man, we got to do a thumbnail. I forgot to do a thumbnail. Here's a thumbnail. Oh, no, that's the wrong kind of thumbnail. Sugar. So I'm trying to tape this thing up for the thumbnail. See how this is going to work. It probably won't, but I'll have to give it a shot. The things you'll do for a thumbnail. You figured that out because you're a woodworker and you know these things. I kind of blew that already, didn't I? Ah, poop.